Welcome everyone to today's ResNexus webinar. This is revenue management for the rest of us. My name is Gavin. I'm with the ResNexus on the marketing team, and I'll kind of be hosting and asking some questions here and there to kick off some discussion. And I'm joined today by Leslie and Hannah from RoomPriceGenie. I'll let them introduce themselves. Yeah, welcome on.
Hi, Gavin. Thank you so much. Great to see you again. We really appreciate our partnership with ResNexus. It has been a great onboarding for us, and you have some great clients. It's just a joy to meet everybody and to have this discussion. So thanks for having us. My name is Leslie. I'm a sales and revenue manager with RoomPriceGenie. We are an automated revenue management system based out of Europe, but we are just newer into the United States by a couple years. So if you haven't heard of us, you will. And my colleague Hannah is here. Hannah.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us here as well. My name is Hannah. I'm also a sales revenue manager for the North American market. I know ResNexus has been more of our newer integration that we went live this year, so it's been absolute joy getting to know all of the clients with ResNexus. And thanks for having us.
Yeah, perfect. So today for the agenda, we thought we would want to talk with the group a little bit about telling you a little bit of introducing you to Room Price Genie. What is this automated revenue management all about? And also at the same time, talk a little bit about revenue management. As an independent hotelier, you're doing a lot every day in your lives in managing the property from the guests to your employees to this great experience, marketing, paying the bills, and then having time for yourself. And during the day, a lot of things are going on, and sometimes revenue management gets missed. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that today as well. And so, as we move through the discussion over the next hour, let's talk about revenue management in general, how to optimize pricing, how to think about it, and then how to use some pricing tools like Room Price Genie to help you along the way. All right,
Yeah,
so let's
absolutely.
get started.
Yeah. So really quick, just to kind of kick off the discussion, I had a couple
Sure.
questions I wanted to ask to kind of get things rolling. But
Yeah.
before I do that, I just want to quickly say that we will have some time at the end for Q&A. So if you do have any questions for Room Price Genie or for ResNexus, feel free to put those in at the end. If you do have any, more specific questions about the nature of the integration with ResNexus, anything like that, Room Price Genie does work much like many of our other integrations. So you can just reach out to our support team and they'll be able to help you out with any of those more specific ResNexus related questions. And then also one more final note is that this webinar will be recorded and it'll be available after the fact. So if you're not able to stay for the full time, don't worry, we'll be able to send that link to you. All right. So Leslie, yeah, this is going to be very exciting. So to kick off the discussion, the first thing I wanted to ask is, we've got a lot of properties who are, to some degree resistant to the idea of revenue management. Um, so I just wanted to ask, in your mind, what are some of the reasons why revenue management is so important, especially for independent hotels?
Yeah. It's really important. And sometimes when we don't understand something or we think that it may be difficult to learn, we try to resist it a little bit. But revenue management is super important, right? Using static pricing, what I mean by that is pricing the same price every day of the week, or maybe static pricing by day, by day of week, by season um, is very familiar to some people. But dynamic pricing has been used by, for example, the airline industry for decades now. So think about that. As you're going to buy your plane ticket, you generally know that if you book further out in advance, you may get a better deal. And if you're booking last minute or within more of a natural booking window, you may be paying more for your seat. So think about it that way and then apply it to your hotel. Moving rates up on higher demand time periods, such as Super Bowl weekend, graduation, 4th of July, is supply and demand. So taking advantage of moving prices up during higher demand times will help you optimize revenue. Conversely, when it's slower, moving rates down to drive occupancy can also help grow revenue. So revenue management is a little bit more, though, about moving prices up and down. There's more to it. There's research that has to be done. There's who are you going to look at for pricing? What kind of pricing for your rooms? Do you have some pricing differential between room types? Do you price a suite higher than a standard room? What day of weeks do I do that? What if a group books? What kind of discounts am I giving to OTAs? So on and so forth. So there's a lot that goes into that bucket of revenue management, if you will. It can take a lot of time for a hotelier to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are some excellent reasons why you should consider, revenue management and rather than we call it flat rate pricing usually, but yeah, static pricing as well.
Static, yeah,
It's yeah. Uh
yeah.
Definitely there are better strategies out there, right?
There are. Dynamic pricing is really important to a hotel's success, especially in this day and age right now. The market across the United States, I talk to hoteliers every day all across the states and all across the world. This is very familiar right now. The market is a little bit softer. And what I mean by that, there's some different dynamics. Booking windows have changed, particularly in a post-COVID world, but even so more right now. People are waiting to see what happens. Am I going to have the time off? Am I going to have a little bit more disposable income? What kind of prices, what kind of deals can I find? And so maybe, and also there's a little bit of generational differences going on. The boomers used to be big planners. They used to plan out vacations far in advance. Think about the days where AAA and the triptychs, and they planned and they knew where they were going. Now the millennials are traveling much more and they're very last minute. They're not the planners. Maybe just a few days before, they're like, oh, you know what? Let's go. Let's go and find out. Maybe we'll find a place along the way. And so there's a generational difference that's going on, not to mention the economy. So we're seeing some price resistance. We're seeing people are still traveling, but maybe they're not traveling for 3 nights. Maybe they're only going for 2 nights. So there's so much spinning right now. And it makes it a little bit nerve-wracking for an independent hotelier that may not have all the resources available that a brand would have and not really know how to navigate this turbulence that's currently going on. So we want to help bring some clarity to this and help hoteliers take the guesswork out of the current situation so that they know they're getting the right price at the right time for the right customer.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And then that leads into my follow-up question, which is, how is revenue management different for independent hotels as opposed to the bigger chains?
Yeah, the brands, we all know franchise fees are high, and there's reasons for that because you can take advantage of brand marketing or brand revenue management. And when you're an independent hotelier, you don't have as many resources. You may not have the reporting, you may not have the expertise knowledge, and so you just don't know. And revenue management really comes into play because they're using fancy systems and they're able to alter rates and be nimble and pivot and change quickly. With independent hoteliers, you're handling much more. You're like juggling a lot of balls in your day, wearing a lot of hats. And so when these changes are coming up, you may not realize it so much, and you may not be as nimble as fast as a brand to move and change. So some of these tools and using modern computer technology to help you along is really beneficial. So not only is it, a monthly subscription price that you're signing up for, you're really making an investment in your property. You're saving time, you're helping to increase your ROI, but you're being smarter. So it's all about being better, smarter, faster, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just my final question before I'll let you take over after this,
Sure.
but is
Yeah.
basically just, for someone who's just getting started out, maybe they're tuning in, they're curious, but they don't have a lot of time on their hands, what are some good first steps that an independent hotelier should probably take to just get started?
Just to get started, you need to know what's going on in your market. Be aware of your market. What are your demand generators? Is there a corporate office nearby that's bringing in people, that's bringing in certain demand? Do you have a concert venue? Do you have large events that are coming? Music festivals, wedding traffic, all of these different things that impact why you're selling rooms. So first, awareness, be aware. And then who are your competitors? Competitors are a little bit different now because with OTA sites, which I mean by that, online travel agencies like Booking.com and Expedia, people can easily search. Maybe your direct competitor isn't the guy next door to you. Maybe it's somebody 10 miles down the road because of how they're pricing and so forth. People can drive a little bit further. They're more savvy when they're looking. They've become their own travel agents, if you will. So, really being aware of what your guests are looking for and how to be able to respond to that is going to be very important.
For sure. All right. Well, I won't hold you back anymore. I'll let you go ahead
Yeah,
with the presentation, and
yeah.
we'll kick things back in with a discussion when we get to the Q&A. So thanks so
All
much,
right.
Leslie.
Thanks, Gavin. So I want to talk a little bit about today about forecasting and what we think of at Room Price Genie when we get going here. So, forecasting is really simply just thinking about what is coming down the pipeline. What is in the months ahead or maybe year. Usually at the beginning of the year when I was an independent hotelier, I would sit down with my calendar and I would map out what are the holidays? What concerts are booked? Who is going to be coming to my hotel and why? And what kind of impact is going to be made on supply and demand? And what that looks like from a revenue standpoint. I would think about, what kind of discounts do I need to have open? If it's 4th of July weekend and I sell out every year, do I really need to have a AAA discount available? Do I need to have rooms on Expedia? Do I need to be running a promotion? So on and so forth. Conversely, if I know it's a very slow time ahead, should I open up those promotions now, way in advance? Why not? Let's plan it out and let's map it. So forecasting just gives you a real sense of where you're going to be. Budgeting your revenue makes it help you not only as for your supplies and how you're going to be performing during the year and your expenses, but it allows you to manage staffing, prepare for when you need to hire people, bring on that extra help, how many housekeepers you're going to need. Like everybody knows, if you're seasonal, if you're having local events, know your market trends and then your market segments, meaning your discounts, your rack rate, who are you selling to and when is all very important when you're thinking about how to price. Whether you're using an automated system or not, all of these things should be on your radar. We then like to talk a little bit about pricing optimization. This is a term that we use often in the industry. Everybody wants to optimize everything. Why not? Like, let's grow revenue. And at Room Price Genie, that's what we do best, helping you optimize revenue. So let's take a look at that. Optimization really boils down to setting the right rate at the right time for the right customer to make the right amount of money. We don't want to have to use promotions or give away discounts when we don't need to because every penny counts. We all have a why. Why are we in this business? Like it may be for our legacy. We may be planning for our retirement. We might be leaving it to our children or paying for college. Like we all have a why of why we own these hotels as independent hoteliers and why we need to make money. So we need to optimize to make our goals, to make our dreams come true. And what does it look like? It looks like looking at seasonality, thinking about your occupancy levels, then taking a look and thinking about booking pace. Often we look at like how many rooms are we picking up and how far out. Often we hear terms like booking window. And Room Price Genie booking window is really, really important. How far out in advance are people booking with us? And how are we typically getting half of our expected inventory on the books? So that's something that we look at. Usually, if you're in a city hotel may have a very short booking window. It could just be a couple days out to maybe 14. Maybe you're more in maybe a semi-urban area or more of a semi-destination where people are looking and booking, planning maybe between 14 days and 30-ish days out. Or maybe you're a ski resort or a nice place, someplace in Hawaii, beach, someplace where people want to go and they're really planning long-term vacations. So booking windows can vary for different types of hotels. And then within that, different times of the year may have different booking windows. So we take a look at all of this, something to think about when you're pricing. Dynamic pricing will change based on booking windows, occupancy levels, seasonality, and then market demand. When we're looking at market demand, we're looking at how is the competition or other hotels or lodging establishments. It could be outdoor hospitality, bed and breakfast, hostels, anything that is selling a room or a space. And how are they moving up with demand? So when there's more excitement in an area and it's more popular and people are making reservations, hotels typically, those big brands, start to increase rate. So how is those rates in general overall for a market starting to move up? And then how should you as a hotelier react to that? That's what we help with. Now, dynamic pricing simply means moving rates with demand, not setting the same rate every day. So let's say maybe your rate is very slow tonight. So let's say it's $99, but tomorrow night there's a high school graduation and there's much more demand and inventory is limited. So tomorrow it may be $199. And then the next day it may go down to $149. That's what I mean by dynamic pricing versus just setting a price at $149 and never changing it. So what strategy is better for high season? Some people want to know, do you set maximum rates early, very high, and then lower them as you get closer in? Or do you set the rates low and then increase them over time? So at RoomPriceGenie, we like to find the right price at the right time. And what I mean by that is we want to make sure that you're not picking up too fast of a rate. You know, we all know if you start getting a lot of bookings in for a particular date far out in the future, your rate is probably set too low. And so the genie's always going to be looking and thinking about that. If you're set too high, conversely, you may not get any rate rooms picked up in bookings. So we want to be really flexible. We want to be able to pivot quickly. This is a bit of a difference from dynamic pricing models versus an occupancy-based model. And I want to just speak to that for a moment. Many times people use occupancy-based pricing. Generally, that means once I get X amount of occupancy on the books, say 50%, then I want my rate to go up by a certain dollar amount, say $10. Then when my occupancy climbs, I want to continue that pace. Maybe I go up at 60 when I hit 60% to another $10 and so on and so forth. That's a great model. But is it the best model? Because what happens if the market changes courses and suddenly maybe there's bad weather or maybe a concert cancels or something changes in the demand? In the occupancy-based model, doesn't necessarily allow to go backwards into decrease rate. Generally, hoteliers stay stuck at a certain price, and while competitors are dropping, the models aren't set to move backwards. That's why we like dynamic pricing, because dynamic pricing will allow for you to be nimble and be able to pivot and to decrease price when these type of things happen. So dynamic pricing can be moving up, can be moving down. It's moving up as the market is moving. So often right now, I'm getting the question, how can I get business on the books? It's really slow compared to last year. So, how to attract some early bookers? Let's get some base business on the books. So, some things that we can do, or that you should be doing as a hotelier, not that Room Price Genie does, but some things that you should be thinking about right now, some takeaways, is looking at your marketing campaigns. As an independent hotelier, sometimes these get missed. So we want to make sure that content is updated on your website. Make sure it's relevant. When Google is scraping through those websites of yours, it's looking for new and fresh data. So if you've built your website and you haven't changed your content in years, go back, make some small adjustments, list some special events that are going on, change out some pictures. Google will find this much more interesting and help to build you higher in the sort order. And when events are coming up, your hotel's going to be more front and present. So try that. Make sure your price is right at the right time. Are you charging an advance promotion? Are you having a limited time discount? Meaning, like, put something on sale for a certain time, have that rate, have a strike through, draw attention. I only have 2 more rooms left and it's 10% off. You need to book now because my sale is ending. Creating a call of urgency will get people motivated to book and to buy. Giving some advanced purchase discounts. Book now, get 15% off if you pay in full. Great incentives to get some business on the books. If you are able to build packages, people love packages. Bed and breakfast, romantic getaways that include strawberries and champagne, maybe girls' weekend, these type of things, something to package a service with your rate together, or maybe an event nearby, golf, etc. These will help get some interest and drive people to your site. I find with packages, they're a lot of work, but what they do is they create interest. And even if people aren't buying them so much, they're coming to your website to learn more. So keep that in mind when you're looking at different ideas to attract business. So like I said, updating your website to include summer festivals, concert lineups, different things that are going on in your property, maybe updates, etc. Get all of that listed online. Over communicate to people. And then social media, what a blessing. I recently have a colleague of mine who's in Germany, and she recently heard about Carmel by the Sea. And she said, Leslie, I really want to come out. I'm a Californian. She said, I really want to come out to California and I want to visit Carmel by the Sea. And I said, oh my goodness, how did you hear about that? And she said, TikTok. And she had Carmel has had some influencers come and do some great campaigns and put it together. But this lady now wants to come all the way from Germany just to visit Carmel. These type of resources to promote your hotel on social media can be very, very valuable. Don't underestimate the power of what social media can do to help your business at a very low cost. All right, let's talk about inventory control. So as you're preparing right now for summer, there are things that you really want to talk about to yourself. Maybe have a meeting with yourself or some quiet, uninterrupted time, or bring your managers, your front office manager, your staff into a meeting. And some things to think about and to review right now as you get ready for summer. Look through your system, go through ResNexus, look and see what discounts do I have? AAA? Do I have any oddball discounts that are open? Like maybe I had a December promotion that I forgot to close that is still selling in July, or maybe you want to do a Christmas in July promotion. But what discounts are open and then do you need them open? These should be questions as you go through your system and you're asking AAA 10%, do I need that? Can I make it 5%? Should it be different? 15%? Make a little meeting, go through all that. Look about days for overbooking. Overbooking, I understand it's scary. But we all know things happen. People cancel last minute. They have a change in plans. Maybe they get delayed in their travel. Maybe they get sick, these kind of things. So if you're already sold out, can you safely take a reservation for maybe one or two more guests, knowing that 30 days out, you still have that flexibility and that you normally may lose a reservation here or there? And so getting comfortable and moving towards overbooking may help you drive more revenue. So when that cancellation hits, you already have a booking to replace it. Just some things to think about. And then minimum stay requirements. Often when I'm talking to hoteliers and I'm looking at their calendars and availability, I'm noticing that, a Saturday night might be starting to peak high and they're almost out of inventory. And at that point, I'll point it out and we'll have a conversation about it. But I'd encourage you to look at your calendar now. If you're seeing that your Saturday night, you're already at 87% occupancy, you may need to slow the roll a little bit and put a minimum night stay restriction on. Because you know what? Those people that are looking for Friday and Saturday, as soon as you're sold out, you're not going to be able to sell. And we all know it's so much easier to sell multi-night stays on your asset. It's easier on your staff, from check-ins to housekeeping. It's just easier overall. And so really being flexible and looking for those nights that you can take advantage of putting minimum length of stays, do it. Look at it and put those on. Now be cautious with it because, sometimes inventory doesn't sell all the same. And you may have those nights where there is a must stay 2-night on, but your inventory, you're tied your hands and it can't sell through. And so that's what we call an orphan gap in the industry. So if you have a room that has a 2-night on, but it only can really sell for 1 night, you need to be on your toes and make sure that you're watching for that and make sure that you remove those as well. So just some helpful tips as you move into the next few months. Things to think about. If you're selling out too early, your rate is probably too low. Move it up $5, $10, see how that goes for you. Be nimble to test the waters and move up rate. We already talked about length of stay and avoid last minute discounting. So keeping your rates too high up, too close in, and then having to drop it way too low loses a lot of rate integrity. Plus, your guests that have already seen your rates and have reservations on the books may start to question. So let me get into automated pricing and how that works. So with RoomPriceGenie, basically what we do is we go out, we integrate with ResNexus, and we pull in the daily occupancy for not only for today, but for the next year out. We know what rooms you've sold and what rooms you have left. And then we go out and we scrape market intelligence and we look at how the market is moving with demand overall. So we're looking at up to 20 properties in the area and we're watching to see as demand increases, how they are increasing their rates and how their trends are. We monitor that and our Genie keeps track of all of this data. In addition, we have an algorithm that is also keeping track of your occupancy goals for your property, as well as your booking window, and then how aggressive we have the system set up. We take all of this information into account, and then the Genie can come up with the right price at the right time. It updates itself 4 times a day to put the right price out, not only for today, but for the next year. So you can imagine how great that would be, that while you're handling all the other things that as an operator you need to take care of during the day, from staffing issues to guest opportunities to processing your bills to spending time with your family and so forth, and to know that the Genie is out there making those price calculations in real time, sending those price changes back to ResNexus. Once we send it to ResNexus pushes it out through the channel manager, out to your website, into all the OTAs several times a day, and is automatically taking care of this for you. Now, what is the result of that? So Room Price Genie recently did a survey, and we took 500 independent hoteliers, just like you, and we did an analysis of the past 12 months that they were on our system. And overall, the increase for these 500 properties was 19% increase in revenue, which is totally amazing. But now you can understand how the revenue gets there is because the G is going out and it's looking for those little areas of opportunity. And it's happening at a faster rate than a human could do and calculate. And it's moving rates up and looking for those nuggets of revenue opportunities that you may not have even realized were going on and adjusting the price. And then also conversely, the market is just slowing down. It's repositioning the rate to where it needs to be to drive occupancy. Very intuitive, very cool system. So going back, let me give you some tips, some takeaways to how to maximize revenue right now. One, as we talked about, analyze your market, start looking at it. And if you don't have the time, use an automated system, just like Room Price Genie, to help you learn those trends. Pay attention to local events, pay attention to booking patterns. What days of the week are more popular? What times of the year? And make sure that your settings in ResNexus or in your revenue management system are set up correctly with the right price. Start using dynamic pricing. Get out of the static, same old price every day of the week mentality. Start increasing, push those rates up or push those rates down based on what's going on in the market. Investing in an automated pricing solution. Now, look, I understand budgets are tight. And does it make sense? Well, we can show you how it can make sense because you know what? Once you integrate with us on our free trial, which we'll get to in a second, we are able to show you a return on investment report. Basically, the Genie can say, you know what? Here is what you are priced, and here is where we want to price. And with these changes and these trends in the market, if all the stars align and this keeps going as we think it will, this is the amount of extra revenue that you can make or your return on investment. So I know systems cost a little bit more, but think about the investment of saving time, taking the guesswork out, getting the right price, and then the upside to that. How much more revenue can you really make? What am I missing? All of these things will help you sleep better at night. Go ahead, review all of your rate plans and all of your strategies with your team. Do it now. Start making it a priority. Take revenue management off of the back burner and make it important. Start making weekly meetings important. Start making it just as important as answering, guest online reviews. Revenue management is very, very important. One of the things that I tell hoteliers all the time, when you get the right price at the right time for the right customer, you don't have to put things on sale as much. So when you start using Room Price Genie, you don't necessarily have to be so concerned about, now I've got to go out and I've got to set up a promotion, maybe stay 2 nights, get 15% off. And how many rooms should I put to that? And how many room types and all this extra craziness that we do, because simply by getting the right price set up, people will start naturally booking you without all the other extras. So just think about that as well. Saves you a lot of promotion. And then you know what happens with the online travel agencies, friend or foe, we have to love them in the end, but they stack promotions and they stack discounts sometimes. And so, when you're out there and you're saying, I need to set up a promotion of multi-night stay, and then they call you and say, hey, we can do this, they add that onto what you already have out there. So, maybe a 10% promotion all of a sudden came to 25%. And then you have margins to pay for, and quickly you lose the profitability that you are gaining from that one reservation. And then you have to sit and think, was it all worth it? And so Room Price Genie is very concerned about your profitability, and we want to make sure that you are a not a profitable business. Like, let's keep it going. All right. So let's take your wisdom as you knowing what's going on in your market and let's pair it together to come for great outcomes. So many times I meet with people and I do demos, and we would love to invite you to a demo, just 30 minutes out of your time to have a conversation about how this works and how it could work for you. But automation really takes the guesswork and does the heavy lifting. So manual pricing, you could spend a lot of time every day chasing down, Googling who's doing what, and then trying to figure out where you should be. Save yourself that time because you need it in other places in your life. Um, and, we always have that panic of when we're pricing. Is it the right price? These internal conversations with the little people in our heads, and the uncertainty and I should drop the price, but then I'm going to lose the profitability. And again, remember the why we're all in this. Is it for our college graduation? Is it for my retirement? Is it for the legacy that I'm leaving to the business, to my kids? All of this. So, um, one time I was working with a client last October and he stepped away for a family emergency for a month and he couldn't tend to the property. And he said, I'm just going to let the genie do it. And he came back after the emergency was over and called me and said, Leslie, I just let the genie take care of things. And you know what? My ADR increased by $40 and I did not lose occupancy at all. And I said to him, sometimes we are our own worst enemy because in our head, we think that this is what our property is worth, or I would never pay more than this, but we don't realize that the market will allow for more and it will allow to expand for a higher rate. And so sometimes by just simply getting out of our own way, we can see growth. And that's really important to remember. And using a system like Room Price Genie allows you to experiment with that and to take advantage in a safe environment where you have a team of experts willing to help you and make sure that the settings are right to help you achieve your results. So the one thing about the Genie that I want to tell you is that you're never left. This is not AI. This is not the computer taking over your rates and you can never be in control ever again. That's the farthest thing from the truth. So you're always in control. You can always see we're very transparent about our rate recommendations and why we're making the changes. We show you what's going on with the market factor and how the market is either increasing or decreasing. We're showing how you are working towards your goals and why we're asking or making the change to back offer rates or why we feel safe because the booking window, you're still 30, 60 days out. So this is a safe bet to increase at this time and all of this. So using a revenue management tool will keep you in control, but it will also grow your confidence in growing your revenue. All right. So with that being said, I want to invite Gavin back and maybe open up for some questions from the group. See
Yeah,
if we
for
can
sure.
help answer.
For sure. Yeah, we've already got a few questions coming in, which is great. Anyone go ahead and drop those questions in there once you have them, and we'll get to them kind of as fast as we can. But as we go into that, I just wanted to say that also, great presentation, by the way. Thank you so much, Leslie. I thought you did a fantastic job of making everything relatable and very understandable. So just want to commend you on that.
Oh, thank you.
And for anyone who is interested in integrating with Room Price or getting started with Room Price Genie, ResNexus, we're very pleased with the quality of the integration and with the support from Room Price Genie. We just can't recommend them enough. And you can actually find more information about the integration in the ResNexus back office. If you go to settings and then to your integrations marketplace, you can then find Room Price Genie underneath the revenue management section. And there's a connect button, and you can learn more about the free trial and everything on there as well. So just wanted to make you aware of that. And then sorry, I've got a lot I've got a lot of exciting things to go over. The next thing I wanted to talk about was I really liked what you were saying, Leslie, about overbookings and how, people have a lot of high demand for those
Sure. Yeah.
those that availability that may be, on limited, right? And I just wanted to call attention to just one quick thing that you might want to be made aware of in ResNexus, and that is we have a waitlist feature. So if that's something that interests you, is taking advantage of those people who are just looking for a spot.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of great success stories of people who have been at 100% occupancy for months, and then like a week or two before. Suddenly they get a cancellation and suddenly there's
Yeah.
availability. And so someone snatches it up. And
Yeah.
because of their revenue management rules that were in place, they ended up paying, significantly more than they would have otherwise. And the manager was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" But the guest was just so happy. They were just so happy that they got a spot.
Yeah, and I'll mention right back to that our Genie, even though like if you're at 100% occupancy, the Genie never stops working. The Genie still works, poor Genie, and it's always going. So even though you don't have any inventory, the Genie is still going out, searching the market, checking the demand, and still thinking about your hotel pricing in the event that that cancellation occurs. The Genie went right when it occurs, the Genie pops in with the right rate for what the market is at the right time, which is a blessing, to be able to have that Genie still working behind the scenes for you.
Absolutely. All right, we've got lots of questions coming in.
Okay.
So if it's all right with you, I might just go straight to the Q&A, since we've
Yeah,
got so
let's do
many of
it.
those. I had some of my
Mhm.
own, but we've got so much interest and
Okay.
engagement, so I think we'll just go straight to the attendees. Is it okay if I just kind of field these to
Yes,
you?
please do.
And
Yeah.
all right, fantastic. All right, so we've got a question from Tim asking if the Genie can protect inventory that's farther out, so maybe with a 3 or 4 night minimum, and then drop them off at a certain point as the date gets closer automatically. So, like for example, say you've got a 3 night minimum, but I think he's looking for that rule to expire once it's like maybe a week out or something before the stay date.
So with our ResNexus integration, that's not something that is currently available. However, the Genie is following the rules that you have in ResNexus. So if you've got that minimum length of stay placed on, the Genie is going to push the rate out, and the rate is going to follow the rules in ResNexus, whatever those rules are, based on like, let's say, multiple person, fees, minimum length rules, all of this stuff. The Genie's going to follow that. So we're just pushing out the top line rate, rack rate, base rate, and then it goes into ResNexus. Maybe we can get together, Gavin, and work on that type of integration in the future, if there's a lot of interest. But for right now, it would have to be done in the system.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then ResNexus actually does have that capability. We call them expiring minimum nights. So if Room Price
Perfect.
Genie is able to respect that, then yeah, that's something you can do
Now
actually
we
from the
we have
ResNexus
a
side.
we don't have a feature with the minimum length of stay, but we have something called lead time. So if you want your rate to decrease like on arrival date by 10% every day so that you're really focused on driving occupancy and you want your rates to adjust like 2 or 3 days out by 10%, or maybe you want it to go up on the day of arrival by 5%, we can do that for you.
All right, sounds great. Another question for Tim. When Room Price Genies compare is comparing rates of properties around you, is it comparing hotels and campgrounds? Can the owner pick them, or is it automated? So I guess a question about the comp set and how it figures that out.
Yeah, we call it market intelligence, Tim. And what we do is we're scraping. And so what we like to look for the most dynamic priced properties in the area. And we use several data sources for that. And we let the Genie intelligence pick the most dynamic. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't give me a list of like, hey, these are the ones that we like to watch. And then we take those and we run them through the system. Because here's the thing is that we're not sold on that the guy next door or the guy down the street really knows what they're doing with pricing either. So what we like to do is data is power. And so we like to take as many options as possible. And the way that this all works is that the Genie actually is starting when it's changing rates. It's looking at your internal baseline starting rate before it applies an adjustment, meaning that if the market's going up by 10%, we have a way to look at your baseline rate and then apply that percentage off of your internal rates. So that allows us to look at a whole various like kinds from economy properties to glamping to, a bed and breakfast to the Ritz-Carlton, if you will. And what we secretly like to do, Tim, is we like to follow some of these branded hotels because they are actually employing seasoned revenue managers who are watching and making these changes all the time. And so we try to keep an eye on them because that's going to give, let's piggyback on that a little bit and use it to your advantage. So that's how it all works.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds like a very comprehensive strategy. That's awesome. Next question is from Sandra. Can you talk about how Room Price Genie works and plays along with it, integrates with OTAs?
Yes. So RoomPriceGenie is working in your top line rate. So I'm a little bit older. I refer to it as rack rate, but it's before any discounts or promotions. So we're just working with one rate. So when we work with ResNexus, Gavin, correct me, I think you call it this, it creates a special rate per se. And so when we're moving it up and down, we're pushing out one rate and it's going into ResNexus and then it's going through the channel manager. So with the OTAs, if you have roles like booking.com, you want to increase by 10% off of your rate, then that would all happen in the ResNexus system. So Room Price Genie is just moving one rate and then pushing it out. So any rules that you would have out there would apply and then push out over to those OTA websites.
All right. Next question is from Jeff. He's asking about the rate for Room Price Genie. Is it per month, per year? Do we offer a discount? I believe you were going to talk about the free trial, weren't you?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. So, okay, Room Price Genie offers a no obligation, completely free, 2-week trial. So we can get together, we can talk, I can give you the instructions. It's very simple to integrate with Room Price Genie from your system. And then I do all the heavy lifting for you. I do the setup and I take a deep dive into your hotel and into the market. And I get the Genie all set up, all the settings. And then we get together and we have a setup call where I unveil, like, hey, here's your system. This is what the Genie thinks. I give you a password and I train you in the system. And during the 2 weeks, either my colleague Hannah or I or one of the Genies, we walk with you during this trial period. We can have as many meetings as you need and answer as many questions as you have. So you can really get the feel of the Genie. Now it works in a parallel state, meaning that when it's figuring out rate suggestions, it's keeping those internally. So we pull out your occupancy, we look at the market, make the rate recommendation, but then it stops. It just stays there in Room Price Genie until you're ready and confident enough to go live and push it out. So 2 weeks free trial. And you know what? If it's not for you, it's okay. It's okay just to say, this isn't for me. But if it is for you, and many of you will find that this is for you because it's going to make you more money and save you time, then we do a subscription. So you have choice. You can do a monthly subscription. Think of it like Netflix. You just go online and say, I want to subscribe month to month, and you can cancel within 30 days. Easy as that. No long-term commitments. See how it goes. Or we have an annual subscription that we offer, and we give a 17% discount. So after the trial, you would pay for the entire year up front, but you would get a discount. And then we would have a long-term relationship for a year together. But look, no money is due until the trial ends. So you don't have to make a decision and you don't have to feel uncomfortable. We are not hardcore salesmen that are going to haunt you forever. We actually want you to thrive and we want you to find the best product for you. So come take a walk with us and try it out and see if it's a good fit.
All right, we've got lots of questions coming in. We probably won't be able to get to all of these today. If
Okay.
people do have any other questions that we're not able to get to today for Room Price Genie, what's the best way for them to reach out?
You can email me at Leslie, Leslie, at roompricegenie.com. On the screen, you could schedule a demo. That's the best way. That will be either Hannah or I will have a one-on-one talk, and we'll talk about your individual needs and how the Genie can work and answer your individual questions. 30 minutes of your time is a really great investment to see how this can work for you.
Fantastic. All right, so we'll get through as many of these questions as we can. We'll probably cut it off right around on the hour. But yeah,
Okay.
for sure, everyone who wasn't able to get your questions answered, reach out to Room Price Genie. And if you have any questions about ResNexus, you can reach out to our support team. You can find that on our website and get in touch. So yeah. All right, next question is from Valerie asking about is there a minimum property size that makes sense for revenue management? For example, they have a four-room bed and breakfast.
Yeah. It is I've done a four-room property in Mexico and it worked very well. So there's some other things that go behind it. Generally, we want to go 10 rooms and more for it to move because when you have to have several unit types. But if your market is busy enough, the tool may work. So we should have a talk about it at least. Test it out.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly couldn't hurt. We've got a question from Scott asking how many different rate tiers does Room Price Genie support?
Just one. So again, just work in that rack rate. So you can have your different rate plans set up, so if you have it set up as like a percentage off and so forth. So but we're just worried about that one rate.
All right, so just moving down. A question from Clay, which I believe you already just sort of answered on your own,
Mhm.
asking about do you accurately forecast Mexico resorts in Cabo PV, and Mazatlan?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you just mentioned a Mexican property, right?
Look, Room Price Genie is a global company. We started out in Europe. We have genies all over the world. We have a fully staffed Mexico division, but Hannah and I can also help facilitate and get you with the right genie. So absolutely properties all over North America. And it does work in resort. Like if you're talking about Cabo, Mazatlan, absolutely. It's a great product.
All right, another question from Scott. Now he's asking about more questions about the comp set and how often they pull that data. And I believe you already answered that, but do you have anything else you wanted to add to that question?
Yeah, so the genie is scraping the market intelligence constantly. Now, it's only applying its knowledge on our advanced plan 4 times a day and pushing out rates 4 times a day on the advanced plan for 12 months. The genie has the capability, if you are in a high demand market, maybe New York City or something where your rates change a lot, we do have an hourly pricing solution and we can go as far as 18 months out. So if you're a destination, if you have people, if you're a summer area and people are standing at the desk going, we need to book now for next year, we can make that happen. So you know the right price. So that's all out there. You never have to sit down and figure out pricing again. It's taken off the table because the genie's always thinking ahead.
All right, and then another question along with that, we've got someone else asking, does the scraping involve or include like Airbnb house rentals?
It does. We do have the opportunity as our data, one of our data sources is Airbnb. So in your area, we can pull directly the exact number of units, Airbnb, and we can watch how they're overall moving up and down. And often we use that as we can weight it. So if we want to lean more into Airbnb, then we have the ability to weight that more and to lean rather than hotels. So it's actually a fantastic option because you know what? A lot of hotels are putting their inventory on Airbnb these days as well. So we are very flexible and one of the few RMS systems out there that can do that.
All right, fantastic. That's great to hear. All right, just cruising through. Maybe we can get to two or three more of these questions. This question's from Joe, who's asking, following up on that topic of overbookings. Curious of, possible solutions or ramifications if we overbook and everyone shows up. So I think worried about that, everyone shows up all at once kind of thing.
I know it happens. So that's going to come down to how you handle it at your hotel for training and a walk policy. And of course that's going to happen, but sometimes the risk outweighs the other part. So that would be something that internally you'd have to train your staff how to handle a walk. But you know, um, it can be done.
All right. Sorry, there's so many questions here. Let's see.
Oh gosh, really?
That's all right. Um, okay. Another question from Tim. The booking window moves around, especially in the last 10 months. It's
Yeah.
gotten a lot shorter for them. Does the Genie track what it thinks your booking window is?
The genie is familiar with that, and we also have in our book edit where we can assign different booking windows for different times of the year as well. So the answer is yes and yes.
All right. And then another from Scott, asking how often can they set up revenue review calls to review and update rates? I'm guessing with check in with the Room Price Genie
Great,
people.
great question, Scott. So here's how we work. After that free trial, if you decide to have that long-term relationship and subscribe with us, 60 to 90 days after you subscribe, one of our seasoned revenue managers is going to reach out and schedule a revenue review call with you at no charge. And they're going to go through your system, see how the settings are working, talk about, any changes in your market, anything that's going on, and that we're going to do that. And then from there on out, we're going to do that same call with you every year, complimentary. Now, outside of that, all of the genies, just as a side note, have all worked in the hospitality industry and have revenue management skills and knowledge. And so very familiar. So we have our Genie AI that you can ask questions all the time, but we also have a staff behind that. The cool thing about being a global company is maybe, Scott, I don't know where you're located, but maybe it's in the evening, you have a question, you're working on things late because, hey, we're hoteliers, that's what we do. You can ask, and then maybe there's somebody in Australia who can answer the question because they get it, they know it, they walked in your shoes. And so we have our customer support team, our AI, and you know what? We have if you go on Hotel Tech Report, which is like the consumer reports of hotel technology, please go there, read all about us, verify reviews. We have a 98% customer service satisfaction score, which is one of the highest in the industry. And so just like the service you get from ResNexus, you're going to get that same service from Room Price Genie.
All right. That's fantastic. And yeah, we can also attest to the quality of Room Price Genie's customer support. We've been very pleased, as I said before, with the quality of the
Thank you.
integration and quality support and everything. So,
We just love
absolutely.
that relationship. Thanks.
All right, that about wraps us up for time today. If we didn't get your questions asked, we also didn't have time to do the demo today. There was just too much engagement, too much great stuff to go over. So definitely schedule a demo with Room Price Genie and take advantage of that free trial. And
Yeah.
you can learn what kind of rates you're looking at and get all those other questions answered.
Yeah, book us now, please. If you're on the fence and you're like, I don't know, just spend some time with us talking, exploring, and learning because technology is moving so fast. And hotels, there's so much out there for you to know and explore. And just because you're independent, we deliver an affordable option for independents to act like those full service brand hotels with the same exact technology. So Gavin, thank you so, so much for having us. We really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a fantastic summer. Go out there and make some money.
All right,
Bye.
awesome. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.
Take
Bye.
care. Thank you so much.